Good evening, I'm Andrew Chang, and this is The National.
You've got to challenge your brain.
New research suggests 1/3 of dementia cases are avoidable. So what can you do? O.J. Simpson is granted parole after serving 9 years in prison for armed robbery.
I've done my time. You know, I've done it as well and as respectfully as I think anybody can.
And teenage sisters are swimming at the North American Indigenous Games for more than just medals.
Someone needs to step up and solve the issue. It's not going to solve itself.
You might call it a slow death of the mind. The very nature of dementia is to destroy the essence and function of a person. It can rob memory, cloud reasoning, and change personality beyond recognition. But now, experts in dementia say some cases are avoidable, and the things we can do to protect ourselves may surprise you. Advice as important for teens as it is for seniors. Nicole Ireland shows us more.
I guess.
Brian Philcox and his wife Bonnie Buxton make a point of staying mentally active.
Perfect. Thank you. Bravo.
Buxton has been diagnosed with dementia. The Toronto couple hopes that together they can slow the progression of her disease, and in his case, try to prevent it altogether.
You've got to challenge your brain. If you don't, if you just sit around watching television and having afternoon drinkies or something like that, it's not going to work.
He's on the right track, according to a report released today by the Lancet Commission on Dementia. 24 international experts poured through data to calculate how much people could reduce their risk. They found 9 factors could prevent 35% of dementia cases. Some are lifestyle changes, like quitting smoking and controlling obesity. Others are medical interventions, such as properly treating diabetes and hearing loss, and addressing mental health, including treating depression and preventing social isolation.
The researchers also stressed the importance of education, including staying in school past age 15. They say learning from childhood through adulthood helps the brain build what's called cognitive reserve, and that helps protect us from the effects of dementia, even if it's genetic.
They use the example of twins. One gets more education and interaction in childhood, while the other doesn't.
They each may be destined to develop dementia, but the one with cognitive reserve and with a greater number of synapses will develop dementia later than his twin.
Dr. Tarek Raji specializes in dementia at the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health in Toronto. He says the report sends an important message.
It emphasized the need to address different factors across the lifespan of an individual. So in other words, we cannot afford to just think of dementia late in life. We need to think about, especially we want to prevent dementia, starting early on during school years.
Brian Philcox and Bonnie Buxton's fight against dementia incorporates another recommendation from the report: staying physically active. The researchers say the prevention strategies they've outlined today can have a much bigger impact on dementia than medications. Nicole Ireland, CBC News, Toronto.
A lot to unpack in that report, but doctors say it is critical to our understanding of dementia. So earlier today, I had a chance to talk to Dr. Samir Sinha. He's the Director of Geriatrics at Toronto's Mount Sinai and the University Health Network hospitals. Now, Dr. Sinha, I'm hoping you can make this really concrete for me, because a lot of the things that we're hearing, stay in school longer, get physical activity, try to stay healthy, are things that we've always heard for a long time. So what do you think the real takeaway is here for parents and for kids?
I think one of the hidden messages here is that actually these things do matter, and significantly. New literature is coming out showing that we probably are having 25% less of the rates of dementia today in Canada and the United States compared to what we expected 20 years ago, because these things actually matter. And so I think we have to realize that, well, yeah, you hear everybody saying these messages every day. These messages actually matter, and these lifestyle habits can not only help you live many years longer, but that actually actually can help you live without dementia.
And with all this emphasis being put on our early years, I mean, is it still just as effective to do a lot of these things in our later years? I mean, in our 50s and our 60s?
Yeah, some people always feel that, well, if I didn't lead a healthy life in my middle age or my early years, then it's probably, why worth stopping smoking, for example. But we know there's great studies that have been done in thousands, tens of thousands of older people, 75 and older, and they showed those older people who actually started to exercise and quit smoking and actually maintain good social connections could actually live 5 years longer, even at that late in age, compared to their colleagues who weren't actually doing any of those things. So there's actually, again, it's never too late, and this stuff does matter.
Okay, interesting chat. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Sinha.
My pleasure.
O.J. Simpson will once again walk free. He's been locked up for almost a decade, serving time for armed robbery. But today, the former football star appeared via video link before a parole board and pleaded for his release. Kim Brunhuber takes us there.
He strode into the hearing with his trademark strut. Fast forward through the preamble to the key question, the obvious one.
Yeah, Mr. Simpson, you've lived most of your life in the public spotlight. Yet you go into a hotel room in Las Vegas, bring along 4 other men with you. 2 of them are armed, and rob the 2 victims of property. What were you thinking?
What indeed, after all that's happened? The 1994 murders of his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman. The Bronco chase. The glove. The acquittal.
Find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder.
After all that, after getting off, to then spend almost 10 years in prison, for what? A conspiracy to get his old memorabilia back at gunpoint. But now, today, a chance to walk free.
I've done my time. I've done it as well and as respectfully as I think anybody can.
A model prisoner, according to many, but remorseful? Debatable. Simpson, after everything he's been accused of, clearly had little grasp of irony.
Nobody's ever accused me of pulling any weapon on them. I've basically spent a conflict-free life.
The hundreds of letters from those urging the board to free him or keep him in jail because of his previous acquittal
will not be considered in this case.
What was considered, his strong family support.
We just want him to come home so that we can move forward.
And perhaps most powerful, the testimony of his friend and robbery victim.
If he called me tomorrow and said, Bruce, I'm getting out, will you pick me up? Juice, I'll be here tomorrow for you. I mean that, buddy.
It was enough. All 4 board members agreed.
My vote is to grant your parole effective when eligible.
With that, as soon as October, Simpson will go back to rejoin his family in Florida.
Thank you. I mean, I could easily stay in Nevada, but I don't think you guys want me here.
But the parole board was clear. If he slips up again, the state of Nevada will take him back. Kim Brunhuber, CBC News, Los Angeles.
Let's take you now to British Columbia, where rain fell today in parts of the province hit hard by wildfires. It is encouraging for all those crews battling about 150 fires across the province. But it's of little comfort to those who've already lost their homes. Dozens of buildings have burned down in several communities. Briar Stewart has the latest.
Throughout BC's interior, it was a welcome sight, even though it was nowhere near enough.
We don't expect that rain to dampen too much of the fire situation.
And not all areas got the much-needed rain. Last night in Lillooet, 2 homes burned down after what officials are calling a suspicious grass fire. Another fire this morning in Penticton damaged 2 roofs and triggered a temporary evacuation. Throughout BC, at least 93 homes have been destroyed, and that number will rise because not all of the areas are safe enough for officials to do an assessment.
That's a crying shame, so I feel really sorry for those people.
Ted Shields didn't lose his place, but was forced out of 100 Mile House 12 days ago.
Everybody's under the same boat, stick together.
This pop-up food bank is being run out of a community hall in the area. There's donated food and clothing for everyone affected by the fires. Cheryl Stephen is still in her home, but her bags are packed in case she too is ordered out. She's volunteering because she isn't working. Her job is at Tim Hortons in 100 Mile House, which has been evacuated.
The biggest thing is we can't work, and we're being on alert. You don't know. Sorry, this is emotional for me. Being on a limbo and not being able to have any money coming in is really hard.
Yesterday, the province extended the state of emergency by 2 weeks and have increased the funding for evacuees. Over the past few days, the military has dropped off supplies in remote communities that have been left isolated by the fires. More than 3,600 people are working on the ground in BC to try and contain them. And today they were joined by another 50 from Australia.
Fires fire the world over, so BC is not much different fighting fires than it is in Australia, and that's why we can come over here and integrate.
In several evacuated communities, the worst appears to be over. Work is underway to re-establish essential services like power and emergency health care. Those need to be in place before anyone can return. Briar Stewart, CBC News, near 100 Mile House.
Authorities are also keeping a close eye on a big fire on the BC-Alberta border. Right now, it covers an area about 30 square kilometers across parts of Kootenay National Park and Mount Assiniboine Provincial Park. It's also gotten close to the Sunshine Village Mountain Resort, only about 2.5 kilometers away from it. The park is expected to be closed to visitors tomorrow. Coming up, Quebec's new approach to fighting systemic racism. Some say it's too much talk, not enough action. Plus, what is it about dancing that helps people with Parkinson's? U.S. President Donald Trump marked 6 months in office by giving an interview to a news outlet he loves to hate, the New York Times. Central to that conversation, Russia. Trump slammed his pick for Attorney General and discussed that second meeting with Vladimir Putin, the one that wasn't publicized. Lindsay Duncombe has more.
Stamped with the beautiful letters, Made in the USA.
Try as he might to talk about American manufacturing, making America great again and all that, Donald Trump can't escape the Russia investigation.
Jeff Sessions still have your full support?
Thank you, everybody.
That question prompted by an interview Trump gave to the New York Times, saying this about Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
How do you take a job and then recuse yourself? If he would have recused himself before the job, I would have said, thanks, Jeff, but I can't, I'm not going to take you. It's extremely unfair, and that's a mild word, to the president.
Sessions was one of Trump's earliest supporters, key to Trump's campaign. Because of that, Justice Department lawyers recommended he recuse himself from the investigation into Russia's involvement in the same campaign. At his confirmation hearing, Sessions did not disclose 2 meetings with the Russian ambassador during the race.
For Donald Trump to say, gee, I had in mind to have an attorney general who would not follow the law is just stunning. And it tells you once again that Donald Trump is out for exactly one thing, and that is to protect the skin of Donald Trump.
From here on out, the White House says the president has no plans to fire Sessions, and Sessions says he's staying.
I have the honor of serving as Attorney General. It's something that goes beyond any thought I would have ever had for myself. We love this job, we love this department, and I plan to continue to do so as long as that is appropriate.
But Trump's misunderstanding of the role of the country's top lawyer is troubling. The Attorney General serves the public, not the president. It's not the only questionable judgment exposed by the Times interview. Remember that undisclosed second meeting Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin had at the G20, where only the Russian interpreter was present? Just pleasantries, said Trump. Well, and this.
We talked about adoption. Mm-hmm. You did? Russian adoption, yeah. Mm-hmm. I've always found that interesting because, he ended that years ago.
It's widely understood that any discussion of resuming adoptions of Russian children by American families is really about reducing sanctions on Russia. It's not clear if the president understands that. This is a Republican critic of how Donald Trump is handling Russia is stepping away, at least for now. Senator John McCain will undergo treatment for brain cancer. He says he plans to be back in Washington soon. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Washington.
Now, 6 months into Donald Trump's presidency, and there's still no U.S. ambassador in Ottawa. But that may change soon. His pick for the job, Kelly Knight Craft, was on Capitol Hill today. And if confirmed, she would become the first woman to ever fill the role. Katie Simpson explains what's at stake.
Kelly Knight Craft is calling for stronger economic ties between Canada and the U.S., but she was overshadowed at today's Senate confirmation hearing by other higher-profile nominees. The Republican fundraiser was asked very few questions, with some senators opting instead to make jokes about sports rivalries, noting her deep ties to the University of Kentucky, instead of asking questions about Canada. When she was called upon, though, she did talk about the importance of trade and cooperation, saying the solid relationship could be made even better.
If confirmed, I will seek new opportunities to foster further growth to create more jobs for both countries, while promoting free and fair trade to ensure that American businesses and workers can compete on a level playing field.
Knight Craft says she plans to work closely with senior Trump administration officials on NAFTA renegotiations. She and her billionaire coal magnate husband are very well respected within the White House, since both were such huge organizers, fundraisers, and donors for Donald Trump during the election campaign. She's also very close with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. He vouched for her today at the Senate confirmation hearing, and he played up the importance of Canada-U.S. trade, particularly for their shared home state of Kentucky.
Direct investment from Canada supports thousands of Kentucky jobs, and Canada is the Commonwealth's #1 export market.
American officials want Knight Craft confirmed soon so that she's in position for those NAFTA renegotiations, which are set to start in less than a month right here in the U.S. Capitol. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Forensic experts have exhumed Salvador Dali's body, hoping to settle a paternity claim. Genetic samples were taken from his embalmed remains, which are interred at a museum dedicated to the painter. They'll now be taken to a lab in Madrid for analysis, but results could take weeks. The test was spurred by a 61-year-old woman who claims that her mother had an affair with Dali. He died in 1989, and his estate was bestowed to the Spanish government. The lead singer of rock rap group Linkin Park has died. Chester Bennington was found in his home this morning. The band's debut album, released in 2000, sold more than 10 million copies, making it one of the most commercially successful groups of the decade. Many of their lyrics were about anger and despair. Bennington had battled drug and alcohol addiction at various times in his life, and his death is being investigated as an apparent suicide. The band released a new album this spring and was about to go on tour. Straight ahead, Quebec tries to tackle racism across the province, but is more talk the right solution?
A new life for more than 250 people. The Arousa Sun carries refugees from Hungary, those who fought against a tyrannical government and then fled when their cause was crushed by Russian tanks. More than 3,000 people jammed the dockyard to shout their welcome. And they marched down the liner's gangplank onto Canadian soil, accompanied by the music of the Royal 22nd Regiment's band.
Canada is one of the few countries accepting Vietnamese refugees. Under our present quota, by the end of the year, we will have taken 2,000 from Hong Kong. For the past 6 months, it's been up to a dedicated 22-year-old Montrealer, Scott Mullen, to decide who gets in and who doesn't.
Okay, we will accept his application to go to Canada.
How do you know they can adapt to Canada?
Well, if somebody can sail across the South China Sea and spend 2 months on sea, a few months here in a camp situation like this, I think they'll be able to adapt reasonably well.
Noontime, and the would-be refugees are allowed outside for an hour. When the hour is up, they go back, single file, into the stuffy gymnasium that is their home. The Canadian government hasn't had to publicly explain why it's detaining these people for so long, except to say that it doesn't yet know for sure who they really are or whether they'll show up for their immigration hearings.
All of the other illegal immigrants that have come here, they haven't been treated that way.
The turbans and beards are a great influence.
Members of the local Sikh community are upset with the way the government and the way the Canadian public has reacted to this latest boatload of people. This is the image that stands out most in people's minds.
I think they should ship them all back where they come from.
Canada will give political asylum to 26,000 Yugoslavian refugees. While it's welcome news, refugee advocates say the Canadian government is playing a dangerous double standard. They say refugees from Somalia should get the same treatment as those from Yugoslavia.
As we know, the civil war and also the famine has displaced millions of people.
Yesterday, Somalis protested outside of immigration offices calling for fair treatment.
Somalia is more than Sarajevo. So if they don't give it down to Somalia...
Different language, different culture, different lives. You can see the strain on so many faces. Crammed into a gymnasium, the refugees listen to the Prime Minister explain he hopes they can one day return to their homeland if they choose.
And I'm sure that you can feel at home among us.
Quebec is launching a province-wide consultation process to help fight systemic discrimination and racism. It comes after a string of anti-Islamic and racist incidents. But as Ryan Hicks reports, while some people say it's a good first step, others are sick of studies and they want to see concrete change.
The omission was glaring. Any sign of diversity absent from this video promoting Montreal's 375th birthday. Over the past few days, an anti-immigrant group posted these stickers with xenophobic messages in different Quebec cities. And just last night, this sign saying Saguenay White City went up. But Émilie Nicolas of Quebec Inclusif says racism in the province goes much deeper than these incidents.
It's about discrimination in the education system, in the health system. It's about racial profiling in the justice system as well. It's about how racialized people are invisible in the arts and media and culture in Quebec.
Il s'agit d'une responsabilité collective.
The provincial government acknowledges there's a problem. Systemic racism and discrimination are real, and it's time to tackle them.
When you listen to the people who suffer discrimination and they tell you the toll it takes on them personally, the toll it takes on their families, the toll it takes on society, I think most people understand that it's an extremely important subject and it has to be dealt with.
Starting in September, community groups will gather personal stories and solutions. Émilie Nicolas is one of the people who fought for these consultations. She says it's a good first step, but a lot of questions remain.
All the organizations are going to get the support, are they going to get the means as well to really be able to listen to the citizens who are going to be the people in charge.
The opposition Parti Québécois says the government has been down this road before, and it's time to focus on concrete action, such as recognition of foreign credentials and a pilot project encouraging companies to hire from name-blind resumes.
They chose just to talk and not to have any action, real action.
She also calls it a political ploy to shore up support in minority communities. By the winter, Quebec's Human Rights Commission will put together its recommendations, and the government will reveal its action plan to fight systemic racism by the spring, just months before the next provincial election. Ryan Hicks, CBC News, Montreal.
After years of waiting and praying, a mother in Winnipeg finally has the news she's been hoping for. Her 12-year-old son is alive and in safe hands after being held captive by ISIS in northern Iraq. But now comes the difficult next step, bringing him to Canada. Karen Pauls has more on her plea to Ottawa.
Nofa Zagla can't stop watching videos of her 12-year-old son, Imad Mishko-Tamo. In this one, posted recently on social media, he's pleading to Ottawa for help.
Canada, please help me. I want to go to my mom.
Because of ISIS being so evil and torturing boys and killing everyone, we didn't think they were still alive.
But sometime in the last few months, Imad was rescued by Iraqi forces near Mosul. He's since been in a refugee camp in Kurdistan being treated for arm and stomach wounds. His mom only realized he was alive on Sunday when she saw pictures of him on social media.
Thank God 100 times, and he's alive.
One of the interfaith groups that has already privately sponsored 41 Yazidis to come to Winnipeg is also advocating in this case.
This is a miracle. These things are so rare where we find out where a child is still alive. So I'm so pleased at the speed that the Canadian government has worked.
ISIS has been targeting Yazidis in northern Iraq for having their own culture and religious beliefs. Almost 10,000 of them were killed or kidnapped in 2014 in what the international community is calling a genocide. Canada's immigration minister wasn't available for a comment today, but in February, Ahmed Hassan pledged to protect Yazidis.
Our government will resettle approximately 1,200 highly vulnerable survivors of Daesh and their family members.
As of July 3rd, 564 of those people have arrived in Canada. As for Imad's case, a government spokesperson says, "We can confirm that we are aware of the situation and are acting accordingly. We are expediting the case as we are with all Yazidi cases." The NDP immigration critic hopes that's true.
To know that one of your boy is still there, is still alive, and so really our government needs to follow up on that.
Back in Winnipeg, Nofa Zagla can only hope her son will be on one of the next planes to Canada. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
4 men are in hospital tonight after being pulled out of a shipping container at the Port of Montreal. The container arrived on a ship that left from Germany 10 days ago. Officials say the men are in their 30s. 2 of them are suffering from dehydration and are having trouble breathing. The Canada Border Services Agency is investigating. Another dead right whale has been spotted in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. That's the 8th one since June. And to make matters worse, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans is tracking another right whale just east of New Brunswick that's still alive, but tangled up in fishing gear. The North Atlantic right whale is on the brink of extinction. There are only about 500 left. Well, it's been a popular attraction for kids of all ages for a long time, decades. But now the carousel at Toronto's Centerville Amusement Park is being sold. The price? $3 million. It's money badly needed to keep the amusement park operating after a string of floods kept it closed for most of the summer. The carousel itself is 110 years old. It'll move to Indiana later this year. Well, 2 talented swimmers are proving to be a force to reckon with at the North American Indigenous Games in Toronto. They're sisters, and they trace their winning ways back to family sorrow, the loss of their father, and how they chose to deal with it. And as Havard Gould explains, it's not just medals they're after now.
Renee and Alicia Corbière are teenage swimming stars at the Indigenous Games, competing in multiple events.
I'm really excited to race and just show off what we can do.
And we're hoping to represent Team Ontario well, try and win with our team.
They often win medals, but their swimming success came from tragedy. Their father, Gary Corbière, was a strong swimmer, but in bad weather still drowned.
It'll be 13 years in August when their dad died.
Their mother, Kimberly Murray, immediately signed up her girls for swimming lessons.
Alicia just turned 3, Renee was 5, and I really didn't want my kids to be afraid of the water.
Studies show the need for lessons and water safety training is particularly acute in Indigenous communities, where, compared to the national average, people are up to 10 times more likely to drown.
In the northern communities, every community is essentially beside some sort of body of water, lakes, rivers. They're people of the water.
A Red Cross program that has been running for a few years, largely in Alberta, shows much promise. Young people in several dozen Indigenous communities have been taught swimming and safety skills and now, in turn, are becoming teachers.
So we're starting to see those youth take that leadership role, and I think that that's going to help definitely save some lives down the future.
The Corbière sisters are among the voices calling for more funding, so hundreds more communities can access training and reduce the drowning rate for Indigenous people.
I think it's awful, and I think the best way to prevent that is just to educate people on water safety and just helping them learn how to swim.
Seeing the rates, seeing the lives that are being endangered, like, someone needs to step up and solve the issue. It's not going to solve itself.
To them, that goal, saving lives, more important than any medal. Howard Gould, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, quality of life is at the heart of our next story.
Dancing provides them enjoyment, it provides them interactions with other people, it provides them beauty.
Fighting Parkinson's using the medicine of movement. Plus, millions of people suffering with cholera, where it's happening and why, coming up on The National. But first, let's check the day's business numbers. The TSX gained 19 points. The dollar increased less than 1/10 cent. In New York, the Dow edged down and the price of oil dropped 40 cents a barrel.
Showing off some skin has moved from the TV screens to the streets and now to the schools.
It's a hot day. It's very hot. A hot day.
Too hot for some anxious principals.
You know, it was causing a distraction, there's no question.
She sent home this note. Keep the underwear hidden. No exposed boxer shorts. No wayward bra straps.
I think that we're perverted. Like some guy will go, whoa.
From the archives of CBC News.
If a girl should know how to dress for school, I think it's up to them, really. And tight sweaters, well, they're not very good, I don't think. I'd rather see a girl wearing blouses and stuff like that.
Do you enjoy wearing miniskirts?
Yeah. Well, I don't really prefer them on girls, but also I think it's just that it modernizes the way the girls dress.
The skirt rises up when you sit down, so you have to put your books something on your knees or something to hold it down.
I just don't like the idea of them wearing way up here. It looks it's not right.
That was Barbara Emile getting the long and short of the miniskirt story.
School's back all over the country now. Did today's back-to-schoolers reject the dictates of the department stores? Here on What's New, we took a look at how kids actually went back to school this fall, and what we saw were students like these.
You can read a book in jeans, you can go to school in jeans, you can roll down a hill in jeans, you can do whatever you want in jeans.
In the late 60s, there was pressure on the schools to relax dress codes. Shorter skirts, pants for girls, and eventually jeans were allowed for everybody.
The freedom that the children have known for the past 15 years has been just a little bit too much.
The parents have decided to adopt a uniform this year.
They do seem to be more serious.
And we work harder because we look better.
Teachers don't really know whether uniforms make any difference to the children's schoolwork, but both teachers and parents hope the uniform is here to stay.
I guess I was brought up different than most kids. I just don't believe in wearing stuff that's vulgar, as my mother calls it.
A piece of film was supposed to have been cut to open this year's Festival of Festivals, but the organizers couldn't find any, so an old-fashioned ribbon was used instead.
This evening, the gala premiere belongs to a Canadian film, Ticket to Heaven. A number of limousines have pulled up with well-dressed people. Unfortunately, nobody seems to know who they are.
Despite the problems, after the film, it was party time, and there was everything you'd expect at a showbiz bash. Stars, booze, good-looking women, good-looking men, people dancing to the music of Martha and the Muffins, and more booze.
It's Warren Beatty night at the Festival of Festivals, where the spotlight shines on everyone. The ushers at the theater had their hands full. It was their job to make sure the fans and the stars didn't collide. But when the big black Continental pulled up to the curb, there was no stopping the autograph hounds.
I'm very proud of myself from restraining myself from attempting to wrestle him to the ground, because that's exactly what I wanted to do.
This was opening night, a gala for the North American premiere of Joshua Then and Now. There were Klieg lights and limousines, but there were also some charming down-home touches. The star, James Woods, arrived with his proud parents, who came in from Rhode Island for the event.
Now the Oh So Cool set have decreed Canada's little festival that could a must. That, of course, is Robin Williams, Claudia Schiffer.
It's the only film festival in the world where you see all of the most important films. You see a whole year come in advance.
As un-Canadian as it is to gloat, movie critic Roger Ebert says go right ahead.
Yeah, it's okay, Canada. It's okay. It's a real big, real good festival.
Because people
sometimes who come in walking with walkers and are very unstable, halfway through the class will start waltzing through the room.
Well, stories like that have been around, but until recently couldn't be explained by science. How exactly does dancing help people living with Parkinson's disease? What is it about the deliberate, controlled movement that makes the brain stronger and helps it keep better control of the body? Well, this is a story we first brought you in January. The CBC's Ioana Remiliotis looked into the medicine of movement.
Will you dance with me?
The invitation to dance comes with one to forget why they're here. And sometimes it happens.
Dance around the room.
Sometimes 60-year-old Charles Dennis gets lost in a rhythm until he remembers how desperately he wants to keep moving.
I find myself really getting caught up in the music, and you forget about having to make the movement to be sure that your arm is getting the message from your brain to move this way. They don't know what causes it. It'd be great to be part of the victory over it.
There is no cure for Parkinson's, a neurological disorder where the ability to move degenerates over time. But something about dancing seems to help. And until now, science couldn't begin to explain why. Why damaged signals from brain to limb suddenly seem to connect.
Biggest ole you got! Ole!
Anecdotally, what the students tell us and what we see is that maybe, new neural pathways are being created to movement.
You gonna dance with me?
Because people sometimes who come in walking with walkers and are very unstable, halfway through the class will start waltzing through the room.
Sarah Robichaud has been running Dancing with Parkinson's classes in the Toronto area for nearly a decade. When researchers asked to turn her class into a science experiment, no one said no.
They love doing research. The people who come to these classes, I can't tell you, they are so open and so courageous and so willing to do anything that will help themselves and help others with the progression of this disease. So whatever they can do, they will do it to help.
Okay, Charles, so we're going to start with putting the EEG cap on your head.
Okay.
Charles Dennis was diagnosed a year ago and is willing to try anything that helps. It's why he's part of this, the first study of its kind that is scanning the brains of people with Parkinson's immediately before and after a 1-hour dance class.
I was just like, well, there's two things you can do. You can either work with what you've got, or you can just lay down and let it win. And that sounded really boring. I wanted to try and do what I could. And, there's that kind of hope in your mind that, well, I'll keep fighting this, and then the big cure will just, they'll find the answer, and then you're there. And if you gave up 6 months too early, you'd be done.
Raise your arms directly in front of you with lots of space between your fingers.
There's no real treatment for Parkinson's other than medication to help with tremors that set in. But researchers from Toronto's York University believe dance can rebuild the brain's pathways, the ones that tell the body to move. And they're out to prove it. Joseph D'Souza is the neuroscientist leading the study.
I think the benefit to dance is that it's using your brain too. So you're remembering cognitive steps in time, usually to an external stimulus of music or a piano you'll hear in this set. And what's great about it is all these things are very cognitively demanding. And so it's like doing brain training with dance.
When she's not in class, Alice Betty Rustin practices in the hallway. Her apartment is too small. Every exaggerated shuffle and swing is hard work. Rustin found out she has Parkinson's 5 years ago.
So the dancing has helped you physically?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And it has helped me mentally and emotionally. Not just emotionally, but mentally as well.
How so?
Well, because when you're dancing or when you're doing steps or even arm movements, you have to think about it. It just doesn't come naturally. So that's good for me. It becomes like a teacher, a self-teacher when I'm on my own.
In 3, 2, 1, go!
25 Canadians are diagnosed with Parkinson's every day. The risk increases as people age.
Thank you, thank you.
As fate would have it, Rustin has been an advocate for years. She got involved when her father-in-law was diagnosed decades ago.
Here we go. I'll just be outside.
Never thinking one day she would be part of the search for answers.
We're not going to progress in finding out how Parkinson's starts or why Parkinson's starts, or are we ever going to find a cure? Are we ever going to find better treatments? All those things can't happen if we don't have patients like me who give them data to work with.
There is evidence already that exercise, especially strenuous activity, builds muscle and brain power in people with Parkinson's. Dennis works out regularly, and while all this makes him stronger, he's convinced dancing does something more.
I feel like I'm smoother in things that I do. I have an easier time in the dance with knowing that my brain is sending the message to move in this, and that my arm is going to move the way my brain tells it to. The goal would be for my movement to be natural, to not have to think about it, to not have to go, okay, I need to move this far and then change my arm and go like this. It should just be able to do that.
Everything go well today?
The data on dancing is preliminary and promising. Everyone's progress has been pooled together over the last 3 years. And D'Souza recently presented his early findings at an international conference on Parkinson's.
Perfect.
He's found a 1-hour dance class results in a boost in alpha brain waves. That renewed brain activity may explain why most volunteers show an improvement in their balance and gait. The question now, can the effects last?
So we want to see whether it's a neuroprotective thing that's happening as a function of dance. So we're not only interested in what's happening in the brain, but how it's happening and whether it's neuroprotective over time.
Heel, toe, stop.
D'Souza's research is still in its infancy, and there are only about 50 people in his study. But what he's learned so far is already informing experts in the field.
I think we have to keep pushing the envelope. You know, we can't just be content with a sort of status quo. It's not adequate. People with Parkinson's are suffering. We've got to find ways. We can't stop and wait. And you're not having any side effects from the medication?
Dr. Galit Kleiner runs the Movement Disorder Clinic at Toronto's Baycrest Hospital. She's on top of all the medical interventions that help her patients. But she also pioneers the use of other therapies too.
Okay, go ahead.
This exoskeleton suit robotically facilitates movement. The external cues fire off messages to the brain to get legs moving, not unlike what dancing does.
We know that there's sort of an internal rhythm in all of us, but especially in Parkinson's disease, that rhythm is impaired. The motor circuits of actually moving are intact, but accessing those circuits may not be intact. And so music and even pacing with a metronome may be able to access those motor pathways.
Okay, and stay there.
Kleiner says there aren't huge clinical trials to draw on to prove how well non-medical therapies work, and she's not waiting for them. She recommends dancing to her patients because it seems to help and already proves it gives people hope.
So that's huge. You know, all of us need hope. All of us need to be socially integrated, to be accepted. I think when you live with a neurodegenerative condition, especially like Parkinson's, which is so visible, people increasingly become socially isolated. It's very, very difficult to cope. Dancing provides them enjoyment. It provides them interactions with other people. It provides them beauty. I think there's a lot of value in that. I think that's key to coping and living with a chronic illness.
For Dennis, that illness is still an unfamiliar and frightening companion, but he clings to what the study may still reveal.
Pass my thanks around the room.
Researchers want to follow the class for at least 5 more years to see if dancing actually halts the progression of the disease.
There's a saying that with Parkinson's that you don't die of Parkinson's, you die with it. So I want to maintain as long as I can. And, you know, if I'm part of that cure or advancement, why wouldn't I want to be? Why wouldn't I want to do that?
It is so often a dance between hope and despair. But coming here, Dennis says, is an exercise of faith, whether or not the science follows.
And bow or curtsy to your partner.
Joanna Brumeliotis, CBC News, Toronto.
Thank you, guys.
And do stick around, because when we come back, it is being called the worst cholera epidemic in modern history. So why haven't we heard much about it?
This is Niagara Falls, and if you've noticed a little more foam at its base lately, perhaps it's mainly because of the beer. Beer that's being dumped by the caseload into the custom shed washroom upriver at Fort Erie.
They are bringing more beer than usual on account of the beer strike in Ontario.
One Hamilton man who shuffled off to Buffalo to pick up a couple of six-packs got his comeuppance, but at least he, unlike many others, was able to kiss his beer goodbye.
A Canadian beer drinking tradition is disappearing fast, and the first place they're feeling it is in the Maritimes. What's vanishing are those squat and stubby dark brown bottles.
The Canadian brewery industry has spent millions of dollars to make the change to long-neck bottles, and part of that cost is a result of scenes like this. There's no doubt that Cape Bretoners have done their part to support the brewery industry, and some wonder why the beer couldn't have found its way to a charitable cause. It's a beer drinker's lament. 700 cases of supposedly good brew down the drain, so to speak.
Brewers say the change was inevitable. Light beer has become popular, and American beer and twist-off caps.
I find when you're drinking out of it that it foams up more.
But most beer drinkers have adjusted.
Oh, as long as the beer is still there.
Specialty brewers are on the hop these days, rushing to cash in on more relaxed liquor laws.
Now that Canadian liquor laws are changing, new breweries are springing up all over. There's one in the back of this pub in Kingston, Ontario. But the idea of drinking the stuff that's made in the back room is catching on.
It's got a hell of a lot more body than Canadian beer, I'll tell you that.
It's very smooth, it's very easy to drink.
Okay, Ernie, if you could picture yeast there. Yeah.
Bernie Knudsen has been coming to this so-called U-Brew store for about 3 years. It's easy and it's cheap. Making your own beer and wine in British Columbia is virtually tax-free. You can brew a dozen bottles here for about $10. Buying it at the liquor store would cost $15.
For the working men, yes, it's a working people, the working class people, it's a way better deal.
Most hours have 60 minutes. This hour has 7 days. Tonight, Ralph Nader charges the Detroit car companies with running risks that can't hurt them, but do hurt us.
I could give an example of the Buick Roadmaster in 1953. The one with power brakes came onto the market, many thousands of them, with a defective braking system. Now,
You mean in the 53 Buick Roadmaster,
with power
a driver
brakes.
would literally go from normal brakes to no brakes, like
That's
that?
right, that's right. This is documented in court records, which is very interesting. It shows you that the only way we find out about these things is through the cumbrous process of the judicial system. So what you want to do is make an overwhelming systematic case to overcome the resistance of industry. The stronger a case you make, the more scientists you have working on the project on an independent, objective basis, the more overpowering the forces of humane automotive technology will be.
This cholera scandal is entirely man-made.
War and disease, the twin pillars of Yemen's misery. It was already one of the world's poorest countries before a brutal civil war broke out 2 years ago. And now the nation of 25 million seems poised to hit rock bottom on virtually every indicator of well-being. A deadly cholera epidemic is sweeping the land, and even getting information about what's happening within Yemen's borders is getting harder and harder. Journalists are finding it all but impossible to get inside. So, how did things get so bad? Well, like other countries in the region, Yemen's disaster has roots in the Arab Spring of 2011. When people rose up against their authoritarian government. The thing is, democracy did not flourish. Instead, regional and religious tensions exploded into civil war. On the one hand, the government of Abdurrahman Mansour Hadi, propped up by a Saudi-led Arab coalition. On the other, the rebel Houthi movement, a Shia religious political faction supported by Iran.
We will not stop until the last beat of our hearts, until the last drop of our blood. Women, men, and children will fight.
Fighting has been fierce. The Saudis unleash devastating airstrikes, while the Houthis rely more on ruthless guerrilla tactics. At least 3 million people have been displaced. At least 10,000 people have been killed. More than 40,000 injured. And add into this swirling cauldron a raging cholera epidemic that broke out in April. It's being called the worst of its kind since modern records began almost 70 years ago. And to give you a sense of just how bad the epidemic is, well over 300,000 cases of cholera were reported in Haiti in the year following the 2010 earthquake. Yemen has recorded the same number of cases in just 3 months, and the country's rainy season is just beginning. Now, Scott Paul is someone who's seen the situation in Yemen firsthand. He's a senior humanitarian policy advisor with Oxfam, and we had a chance to chat earlier this evening. So, Scott, you were in Yemen as recently as last year. What did you see?
I take 2 really strong images away from my time in Yemen. The first was during my trip to a small town called Khamar. I talked with a lot of people who used to work at a factory that had been destroyed by the Saudi-led coalition in airstrikes. And every time the factory tried to reopen, the Saudi-led coalition would threaten another set of airstrikes, and so they couldn't go back to work. So they were left cleaning up the neighborhood, essentially. They had no salaries, there's trash in the streets, public systems are collapsing all around, and people are just asking, why is this happening to us? The other image is one of incredible generosity. I saw communities where when we distributed assistance or when someone was able to buy a bag of rice, that rice was shared with the entire community. When people had to flee one neighborhood to another or one community to another and go to school in a new place, the community that was there opened their hearts and said, well, we'll just have 2 sessions. I saw so many people working without salaries just to save each other. It's an incredible spirit of solidarity.
And so, you know, when we look specifically at the cholera epidemic, can you tell us why has it spiraled out of control so quickly?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different contributing causes, but the 2 I'll highlight is, 1, there's a de facto blockade being imposed right now by the Saudi-led coalition, and it's hard for food to come in, it's very hard for commercial imports or aid to get in, but it's especially hard also for fuel to get in. And people need fuel in order to pump water, treat and clean water, and clean the streets. And so what you have is you have lots of waste in the streets, and it's contaminating water sources. The other side of this is that all of the parties to conflict are weaponizing the economy, and they're essentially putting a siege on the economy. And what that's doing is it's collapsing public systems. Government employees haven't been paid in nearly a year, and so health infrastructure and sanitation infrastructure are collapsing all over the country.
And so if things are as bad as you say they are, why hasn't the international community been able to step up?
Essentially, you know, the thing that I heard that most stayed with me is Yemen is Syria without the cameras. And the reason the cameras aren't there is because the Saudi-led coalition is blocking journalists from entering the country. I just heard about a UN flight carrying aid workers last week that was prohibited from entering Yemen because it was carrying 3 journalists on it.
So what would it take, Scott, to change the situation there?
You know, I'm actually optimistic in light of all this and in the face of all this, because if the parties agree to a political settlement, they will have the opportunity to revive Yemen's economy, to get its government institutions working again, to pay government workers, to allow imports to come into the country. And a lot of the misery and suffering and unnecessary deaths that are taking place now can be put to an end. Right now, the conflict has more or less stalled. The parties are not gaining a huge amount of ground. They're really trying to inch along and get a little bit more advantage before they make peace. But what's unfortunately happening is the international community is enabling them to keep fighting. They're not prioritizing peace. And if we can get to a political settlement, we'll avoid a lot of unnecessary deaths.
Okay, Scott Paul with Oxfam, thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Andrew.
And we will have more on The National in just a moment.
Each working day of the year throughout Canada, the post office handles about 10 million pieces of mail. The men who face the gigantic task of sorting this mass of mail must know the names of 13,000 cities, towns, and villages in Canada.
In the last decade, its reputation for quick, dependable service has been smashed by literally hundreds of labor disturbances. Its deficit has risen to an astonishing $600 million a year, and its automation program is so far behind schedule, no one can estimate when it'll be finished.
Canadians are losing patience. They're increasingly fed up, and so am I. The post office will become a crown corporation.
In rural communities across Canada, the post office is more than a place to buy stamps and pick up your mail, and this one is no exception.
It's really the center of the village.
But Canada Post says it loses money. These new super boxes will replace Vernon Dunlop.
There's no contact with an aluminum box and a key.
We want to have a community life.
About 30 groups of angry residents from across Canada kicked off a national campaign today to get rid of super mailboxes.
Ann Derrett lives in Markham, just north of Toronto. She doesn't get home mail delivery. Every weekday, either she or her husband trudges about 100 meters to the neighborhood mailbox. Derrett hates that trek so much, she helped found RAM, Residents Against Mailboxes.
RAM Mulrooney mailboxes.
Well, the post office delivered something today it hasn't been able to for 30 years, a profit. Canada Post says it made almost $100 million in the past year, and it expects even bigger profits in the future.
Canadians are making fewer trips to the mailbox. This is the main culprit, email, now as mainstream as a Hollywood blockbuster movie. Convincing the millions of Canadians who use it to come back to so-called snail mail won't be easy.
Why would I want to mail a letter and post it, then go to the mailbox? Why?
Big change for many Canadians. The end of home mail delivery in urban centers.
On doorsteps across the country today, there came plenty of reaction to the big changes at Canada Post.
I like to have things delivered, and everyone cuts back, and it's so silly.
Like the milkman a generation or more ago, the days of daily visits from your friendly letter carrier will soon seem like a quaint notion from another era.
The National.
The National.
Tonight.
Google Street View has let us explore places all over the world, and now it's allowing you to leave Earth entirely. Take a look. This is a 360-degree view from inside the International Space Station. You can explore all 15 modules and click on things to learn more about what you're seeing. Just know that gathering those images in zero gravity was a special kind of challenge. Apparently, instead of tripods to anchor the cameras, they had to use bungee cords.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Exactly 48 years after Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, an important piece of space history has sold at auction for $1.8 million. This lunar sample bag was used to gather dust and rocks during the Apollo 11 mission. And get this, just 2 years ago, it sold at auction for less than $1,000. Not a bad profit. And finally tonight, meet Trainee McTrainface. Yes, that's its real name, and no, I'm not kidding. The name got the most votes in a competition in Sweden, and so the country's rail operator said, okay, that's what we'll call it. You might remember a similar competition in the UK last year. People wanted to name a research vessel Bodie McBoatface, but that didn't really fly. That's too bad. That's The National for this Thursday. Thanks so much for watching. For news at any hour, you can always head to our website, cbcnews.ca. I'm Andrew Chang. Take care.